hear me?
Oh.
I'm here for about 3 slides, but then I'm going to turn over so somebody can speak. Tonight we're covering equipment, and the big thing about equipment is you got lots of options. There's a top bar hive over here, there's a warray here, and there's flank straws there. And we're going to talk to you about what all those are and what options you got. Langstroth is industry standard. Top bar is more native and what? Hippified? Yeah. And the warray is somewhere in between the two. The equipment section is about test 2.
You can't read it on your
Okay. Yeah. Yes, so we'll first do the equipment. That's covered in test number 2. Then we'll do a starting beekeeping. That's just to get you started. What you need to do, just to thinking about getting started beekeeping, up to through installing the package bees. That covers, that's test 3. And depending on how much time we spend on equipment, we might get into the spring management. It's hard to tell. These guys can talk. We brought lots of equipment, so we may never get out of the equipment. We don't know. Okay. About the test so far, everybody that completed the test 1 passed it, so that was a good sign. This was the toughest question on the test 1.
Yes.
Bees are biting insects with 4 wings. And that's true. We don't think of them as biting insects, but the statement's true. I don't know why we have that as a test question. And let's see, there's our agenda. And with that, I'll turn it over to Chair.
Me? You're on. Ready? My turn? Go.
Yes.
Oh, great. I was trying to pay my dues to the firemen, so the collectors. 4 people. Oh, lovely. Here. Hi, how's everyone tonight? Great. Any returns from last Monday or last Tuesday? No? Oh, I didn't look at that. I actually looked at my part. That's my part. Great. All right. Before we get going, any questions? Excellent. Okay, so impromptu. I got to see what I'm talking about tonight. Beekeeping equipment. I know equipment really well. I don't know bees, but I know equipment. So let's start out with.
Hey, Jerry, we can't read it on your shirt.
It's on your tummy, Jerry.
You can't read it on my shirt. Okay. All right. Let me step over. I can. You can move that thing. Is that mobile?
Yeah.
All right. Great. Okay. So we're covering. There's 2 materials. Anybody flunked test 1? Have a retake here? All right. So making it start. I'm doing the. So here we go. So let's start. Wonderful. And I forgot, I was in a conspiracy tonight. Traffic was against me. I had come before this coma, and I was going to grab my equipment, and I see it all. I got it. I'm good. All right, so just so everybody knows, there's all kinds of bee equipment to wear. I have traveled all around the world. And a lot of places I go, the beekeepers, they give me bee suits because it's like they get free help. They provide me equipment because I don't carry my bee suit with me most of the time. And there's all kinds of them. I'm sure that if you start on the beekeeping, I prefer, quite honestly, on that slide, the one that I have used probably most often, this one here. I've used that for, that's been that style, probably old school style, been around forever. This style here has been. This style, I think, was created probably 5-10 years ago. This style here, this, which is in my hand, is a lot what the people use for Afghanized bees. It's a lot heavier. And the screen and that, this is the type I wore when I was in Panama and down in Chile. Of course, these gloves, there's all different types of gloves. There's sheepskin, typically they list them as, and quite honestly, the only place those gloves are for, this is my opinion, I'll use my beekeeper, that style of glove is for migratory beekeepers who, when they're grabbing beehives, like this here, when you're picking up beehives, when we were traveling, the whole front from here down will be solid bees. You put your hands in those bees and you got to move them. Those gloves they cannot penetrate these gloves. I tell a lot of people you can wear latex gloves. The problem with these gloves are you can't feel bees. And I'm going to show you more about equipment when I talk about feeling bees, because I don't wear gloves because I can go in the bee frame, pull frames out. I don't recommend that to anybody. Try that at home. But I haven't worn. But I have a pair of these gloves, and I use these in migratory when we're moving bees around. And we go from the cold climate to the hot climate. The bees cover the whole hive. This thick, solid full of bees, and you're putting your hands in because you've got to move them fast. But there's all kinds of different bee suits out there. I'm more of a traditionalist, which is this style right here. And I was going to bring mine. I have just a pair of coveralls. That veil has the strings. George said last week that strings are about 14 feet long. And you wrap around your body 3 times and tie up somehow. I have just a pair of coveralls, a white, like painter's coveralls. You don't have to buy a bee suit. You can buy white coveralls. At a coverall place, they sell white coveralls. And wear that type of veil, that'll cover your neck or whatever. This one here does the same thing. This just has folds in it, so it's little, makes it easier to see.
Why white?
That's a great question. And in fact, is white, why white? Bees are more attracted to dark colors. So white is a little more reflective and not so attractive to it. Shows the propolis more, gets dirty faster. I don't know. My bee suit's never been washed. It's covered with propolis. Pardon me?
Bears are black.
And berries, but dark colors. Typically they tell you, you read in the bee books, they'll tell you that you don't want to wear wool, you don't want to wear dark colors. What am I missing? What other thing you want to wear? Those are about 2 primary ones. I was going to bring my bee sweater. I have a bee sweater I wear. My bee sweater is designed after a bee. I was going to wear that tonight, but I just didn't have time to grab it. It's white with yellow stripes in that. It's polyester. I've wore wool before, but wool is lanolin. Lanolin is sheep from the sheep, and it has the oil in it. It's a mammal, so the bees smell that, and it can make them a little cranky. But white is typically a very passive color to bees, so they say. Any other questions?
Yeah. Are those special boots? Is the reason for those rubber
boots? Boots. I'm glad you asked about boots. That's a good question. I have never wore boots. I wore tennis shoes. I wore regular hiking boots. I wear these shoes here. The worst you'll ever have to worry about shoes is if you're working bees at nighttime, and for some reason the bees at nighttime they don't see as well. They don't fly. They can see probably really well because they go in this dark box and see just fine to do their housekeeping. They probably can see fine, but they don't fly very well. So they like to crawl. So at nighttime, if you're working around bees and it's very warm out and they're crawling around the beehives, they like crawling up your legs. So the boots are probably a little slicker, although the bees got some pretty good prongs on their fingers. They can grip windshields on cars. I typically, if I'm around bees where the whole yard's covered with bees and I'm at nighttime, a lot of times we were doing migratory stuff, I would take duct tape and duct tape the bottom of my pants. If I brought my coveralls, you see my coveralls. My coveralls, I put them on last year. The bees are a little nasty and I was pulling honey off. And I hadn't worn them for a while and the whole side split up the side. But I duct taped the pockets. I made duct tape my sleeves and my pant legs. But crawling bees at nighttime could be nasty. But I typically would just wear my shoes on walking. At daytime, when you're working bees, they're flying. They're not crawling around. Every now and then you get something that's got some bad wings or whatever, but they're usually so sick they're not going to crawl up their legs. Any other questions about bee equipment?
leg straps?
I've never heard of them. You can get those. I use duct tape.
They're on your slide.
No, that's fine. No, that's fine. And that would be handy.
That would take the place of the duct tape you were talking about? Is that what that's for?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
For tying your pants
They're little
together.
Velcro doovers, you know, you can get them at a bicycle store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
I can
tuck
get
your pants in your sock if you're in the Navy or something.
I can get 3 rolls of duct tape for 2 rolls.
Yeah.
I'm a beekeeper, I'm poor, and I'm cheap. Everything you say here, I'd make. We'll talk about that. So my bee suits are probably 20 plus years old. I've got extra ones because I have people who help me out. So I carry assistants. Yes, sir?
Hands in or out of your boots?
I wear mine out. Again, I've never worried about bees really going up. Every now and then you get a rogue bee might come up your leg. You usually feel it, but I wear my pants outside my shoes. These are what I wear normally. Yes, sir?
Will the bees sting you at night?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they don't have any clock to sting. They'll sting any time. And if they're crawling around at nighttime, they know they're not going to get back to hive.
Yeah.
So they're going to sting. Before they go out of this world, they're going to do some good thing. They're going to share their pheromone or something.
All right.
Any other questions about bee equipment at all? And you can get this stuff. Stedman sells the bee equipment. There's all kinds of, you can web. There's, I can name Danon, Roots, Glory Bee. They have all varieties of them. And it all works good. I have experienced one thing about bee equipment. These types of suits, the suit I just had right here. But this is a pretty heavy suit. But some of the lighter ones, if you're using it in real hot weather and you're sweating, and you sweat and it sticks to your arms, and the bees kind of sense that, they'll sting through it. You'll get a nick by the stinger, but they won't leave the stinger in you, they'll leave it in the bee suit. But you don't get the bees upset, so they don't want to sting you. Let's move right along. Smokers and tools. Okay, I got a whole box of all kinds of goodies right here. So, the tool of my choice happens to be this one right here. This is a bee tool. That is a beekeeper. There's several of these out there that are made. In the slide I show these 3 type here. This has probably been around longer for years. 30, 40, 50 years. Basically a paint scraper. You can find these a lot of places. This is my favorite. And there are other ones, these styles here. Some people get accustomed to those for pulling out frames or whatever. This one here's the same thing. You have one of these here, Ted, like this one here?
I got a yellow one.
Yeah, just like, oh, that's like this one right here. Like this one here.
Yeah.
And what's nice about these here, they're nice. What's nice about these here, they got a nail puller. And years ago, before they had, we got screws in, we would nail our lids onto our beehives. And these have a nail puller, so they pop the lids out. When you get the bee sites and we move our bees, we can pop the nails out and open the lids up and work our bees. So there's a whole variety of tools. This is my favorite. And it's all discretion. You try them out. If this is just what I've always used. Then we got those smokers.
I got
One right there.
over there. Yeah.
The other side of the box.
Smokers. Oh, that's great. Smokers. Smokers. Oh, there's a great one there. I just bought one of those. I just got one of these here. This fine polyester stuff.
You bet, yeah. Plastic.
So they come in different sizes. These two are here, look like pretty much the same size. They make a little bit smaller one. They're about $35, give or take $30 a smoker. They'll last for years. That is probably, I would tell everybody, that is the #1 most important tool of beekeepers. God knows how many beekeepers have told me, they bragged to me, said, oh God, I worked my bees last weekend, I didn't use a smoker. I said, that's pretty stupid. Really stupid. Because they said, well, I was all dressed up in my armor, I never got stung. But they had 3 inches of armor, they were solid, and there's no way, I don't care who you are, you can't work bees without a smoker, without making them upset. And does anybody know how a smoker works and why and how it works? How does it work?
The bees are tricked into thinking that the hive is going to succumb to fire, so they eat all their honey and then they pass out and they fall asleep basically.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Going a good bender. Honey bender. So yeah, that's basically gore, because somebody 100 years ago, 150 years ago, figured out that in the forest, when the bees are in the trees, and there's a forest fire, and they smell that smoke, they say, okay, we got to move our house, just like we would all do in our house. So right away they're gourting. The most important thing they have is their honey. they're gorging on honey, preparing to leave their hive to find a new home. And typically they can't sting, so they say. They say about swarming too. Yes, sir?
Does that mean that the smoke doesn't do anything to the bees that are outside of the hive, away from the honey? If you're trying to smoke the ones that are over here, and all the ones that are trying to go get the honey, but they're outside of the hive, they're all going to head inside and try to get honey, are they? Or what are you doing with the smoke for them? Are they any effect? Does that make sense? No. There's the ones inside, you just said, like this young lady just
Yeah, I'm
said,
working my
smoking
bee
them
hive.
and they're going to go get it.
Right.
And then, but everything else that you smoke on the outside, they're not getting into the honey that fast, and then the next.
Well, I don't care about them outside there.
Ah, okay.
I'm not going to, those bees don't care about me. It's the bees in here. I'm in their home. So I smoke my bees in their house. So I smoke, typically I take my smoker, and my smoker, probably the most annoying thing about a smoker is, that most people have, it took me probably 15 years to figure out how to keep the thing going. And that's the most annoying thing, that people get upset about smokers because they get a smoker and they light it, and then they go to grab it 10 minutes later and it doesn't work, and they got to relight it and they get tired. So when you use a smoker, you're smoking anybody, a brand new hive or not, beekeeper, no matter how old you are, you smoke in the front of the door, you give it a couple puffs, it bellows out smoke, the smoke rises up to the beehive, and about that time you go over, you take your lid off. I took my lid off over here. I take my bee tool, and I take this bee tool here, and I just pop out. I always go to my outside frames real quick. I pull that frame up, because the bees are going to be from here inside, usually the center. This is a real busy hive. I pull that out. I set that down. I start working my beehive. I'm checking it, whatever I'm doing, looking for eggs, looking for queens, looking for workers, drones, whatever. And they're paying attention to smoke. So they're not paying attention to me most of the time. Every now and then you get one that didn't smell the smoke. But that's what a smoke is for. And there's ways, and later on we'll probably discuss more how to keep the smoker going.
Okay, so
That's another
another
class.
15 years to figure out the secret. What's the secret?
You keep it going?
Yeah.
That's a secret. I will not. That's probably, I got a time frame I got to be there. That's another class. And if I tell you right now, you won't come to that class. No, but I have a method to keep my smoker going. And I will share with everybody. I don't know if we have time tonight. But I use some wood chips and different things. And I use burlap. I buy coffee bags. I have 1,000 coffee bags hanging up my shop. And I cut the burlap from coffee bags, and I cut those up. And they smolder forever. My smoker never goes out. Typically when I work my bees, most often I have people that join me to watch or whatever, and their job is to keep that smoke going. And I say there's nothing more terrible. When we're unloading bees of trucks or whatever, and you go to grab that smoker, it's not working. That is bad news. You stop everything and get the smoker going. The smoker is the #1 tool. That's most important. I can work bees without that tool. I can work bees without this suit or a veil, but I got to have my smoker. I will never go without my smoker. Feathers. Feathers are, that's interesting. I have notebooks from beekeeping forever. I have notebooks I used to track. I could number all my beehives, and I would track my queens, different queens. So notebooks are good. If you got a hive that survived 2, 3, 4 years, you've been making queens off it. They've done really well. They've made their own queens. You maybe got those queens out of Minnesota, maybe you have them out in California. You want to keep track of those. So notebooks are good, because when you start getting a few hives, probably more than a dozen, you won't remember. I use crayons. I have crayons. I can bring my bee suit. Here's one here. I have yellow crayons that I can mark on all my beehives. This is a swarm that was in 2014 that didn't decide to live. That was last year's swarm, actually. Got a bunch of them. Feather. I mean, the bee brush, I know that. I use a bee brush. That is typically used when you want to take bees up a frame. They're nice and soft and bristly. I don't care how you use them, they'll still upset the bees.
Yes.
I've used them many times, and I have them in my bee box. And there's times I've pulled honey frames out that are one of the honey frames, and you can take, you're supposed to be able to whisk off the bees out there, but they roll up, they get honey on them, they get upset. So I carry one all the time. I have used them in collecting swarms off of trunks of trees. I've had boxes at the base of a tree, and I've used a brush to go in there and kind of sweep the breeze out the tree. Easier than my hands. It doesn't squish them, just kind of rolls them up 100%. I don't know what the feather's for.
The feather does exactly the same as the brush, only works better.
Yeah. It doesn't
Oh,
make
is
it-
that right?
But they can't sting with the feather.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, they
so
don't
I
get-
haven't,
they don't get
I
rolled
never
up.
used a feather. Okay, that's great. And a camera, I can take lots of pictures. I'm guessing the camera is to take pictures of your bee stuff to share with the bee club. For all various reasons, to show the family, whoever, show the people so they can become beekeepers. Show people that all the good stuff that happens, all the bad stuff that happens. Cameras, I always, of course, the smartphones today got cameras, so I'm taking pictures all the time. I got lots of pictures. Let's move on.
Question? Anything
Yes, sir.
special about the bee brush, like,
No, as a matter of fact, that picture of that bee brush, I got my bee brush 30 years ago. That kind of looks like it. Missing a couple of
what
those
do
brushes.
you use? Nylon or camel?
No, you buy those at the bee catalog, and I don't know if that's, I don't know if it's a polyester, I've never been asked that.
Okay.
But whatever they were selling 50 years ago, they're still selling today.
There's a lot of people you can look at when you get a break.
Right.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Is it possible to smoke the bees too much?
You know, that's I've heard that. I've never done that. I've heard people warn me, if you smoke them too much, they'll finally decide their place is on fire and leave. I've never had that happen. Typically, I got my smoker always with an arm reach, so I smoke in front of my beehive. I start working my bees. If I get a couple cranky ones, I grab my smoker, I smoke up on top. I may go down, here's a western, where you get it a little later, and I get down, I pull that out there, I'm working on the whole bees here, I'll smoke them on top here, just in case they get smoke. A couple of little puffs of smoke, and I'm building up some good smoke. And I'll work my frames here. If I get into it, the bees are kind of moving around, and smoke goes away, I smoke them a little bit more. So I've never had a beehive ever abscond or leave because of too much smoke.
Okay.
But I've heard that. I've heard a lot of this on beekeeping. So, Langstroth. Where am I?
Oh,
Did I go too far? I didn't think so. Okay. So, it's talking about different types of hives. And Jason's going to talk about the other type. I'm talking about Langstroth. These are Langstroth hives. Okay. All right. I want to read this real quick so I know what I'm talking about. Okay. So Langstroth. I do Langstroth hives. There's a whole bunch of them out there. You talk this from root. I do Langstroth. And this here demonstrates this little display I have here. This is actually this was a beehive last spring. I should probably go. And so somebody at Langstroth figured out a long time ago about the size, the space needed for bees, which is about 3/8 of an inch. It says it right up there. And that's the space between the frames. That's the space between the boxes that are stacked up on each other. That's the space it takes for bees to crawl and do all this stuff they need to do. I will work. We did paint, so as far as this is the most, probably the most common is a Langstroth in all the books. Now, and I say everything I have here, I built myself. What's important is I buy these boxes. These boxes here, I buy the size of them, and I fasten them together. They're a dub joint. Dub joint? And in this box here, as an example, I'll wait till we get the frames. So they're easy. This is the most common type. I have two types here. These are called deeps, the deeper one here, and this is called a western. I think we briefly talked about the weight of them. One of these here is full of honey. It's about 120 pounds.
Can you hold them up, Jerry, so people in the back can see?
Yeah, no, I can't.
I'll come up there and hold them up for
You
you.
can hold them up? No, I'm just joking. That's a deep. That's a deep box. Now, these two I average typically, these are my brood chambers. These are the homes of bees forever in Langstroth. And this is the western. This is what I use for honey. About half the size. That's about 60 pounds full of honey. And I have, it's not unusual, last year I had them stacked up to here.
A question?
Go ahead, question? Yes, sir.
In your honey, super there,
Yes, sir.
you always have a bee, queen excluder.
I don't use queen excluders.
How do you keep it just for honey?
Well, that's a great question. I train my queens. I train them. Now, you know, I've never used queen excluders. I have 50 of them stacked up. I tool up for honey. Queen excluders can slow bees down from working the bees. I'll get to it here shortly. Yeah, there's a queen excluder there.
The idea is it's big enough for workers to pass, but not big enough for the queen.
Correct. And they kind of slow bees down, going through, passing through this metal. I don't use it, but what I do, because I check my bees all the time, and I have so many beehives, I'm able to, when I go into my beehives of 100 yard or 50 per yard or whatever, and about the time when they start slowing down laying eggs, the queen's down here in the bottom boxes, she's laying, but they may have some brood up here, and I can pull frames out, put them in another beehive, shake the bees off them, and let them, I know they're going to hatch in a week. I'm going to show you in a little while, I use what they call a bee excluder, which I can take my bees out of the bee box. I use fume boards, but I was told I couldn't bring them in here tonight. They keep everybody, they're kind of strong. For chemicals, I use also called bee excluders. But I've never used, the queen excluders are used for a lot of times grazing, working with queens, raising queens and that. But as far as my bees go, I don't use them. I've never worried about the brood at the top box. I can pull frames out of honey. If there's brood, it's going to be the center frames. And I can work them around and let them hatch out. Any other questions so far about the boxes yet? I'll go into more about my boxes. Okay, honey beehive organization. That's a great slide. I have great boxes for that. So, I said that's a honey box. This is like empty, all the frames. This is ready to go on bees next summer. Just all frames. This is all drawn out comb. All you new beekeepers, you won't get that until about the first year. But that's all drawn out, wax, ready for the honey. So I put that on my bees. They start filling right up. They clean them out and fill them up. This box here was a dead out. I lost. Don't know why. I brought a whole bunch of stuff in here. So what I've got here, so we talk about the way the bees are. Typically in bees, they're going to lay the outside frames, generally, depending on the two bottom boxes, I'm talking about, we call them brood boxes. The two outside frames typically will stay kind of empty. They'll fill them to last, the last to put stuff in there. But the two next to them, the second one in, most of the time, is full of pollen. That's moldy pollen. And that's where they put their pollen at. That was all pollen. It's a little bit moldy now. And there's some honey here. They'll put honey around here. I'm going to get these. And some honey here. All this, these spots is all pollen. Everybody see that? And that's the second frame out. Or in. I have various frames. Then generally from there, in the brood chamber, well, that's got some pollen there. I kind of mixed them up last night. But normally from there, they start working the brood and honey. Now I've got one here. This one here is a one. That's a good example there. Now that one there was probably against the side. That's all honey, sealed honey. And right in here is pollen. Again, that's pollen. So that frame is probably against the outside there. Typically the outside is always a cooler, so that's the last one they ever work with. They always work from the center out. And let's see. So we've got, I guess, let's see. Got a couple good examples here. Different types of frames. That one there. Again, that one there is all honey. That's sealed honey. But right here, typically what you're going to see, when it talks about here, it's talking about the honey. The honey's on the outside generally, the inside, the center 3-4 frames are going to be all your brood. They're going to always have little honey at the corners here. And your brood pattern will be like this size here. There should be a nice brood pattern in your frame. And they'll always have little honey at the corners. Easy to get to. You'll have nectar, pollen, rings of brood. And rings of brood, that's what I'm talking about here. Rings of brood in a frame. I have another frame. Now, as far as frames go, and I don't want to get there where, top bar, so we got that. Here's another style of frame. This is a, when you buy equipment, you get all kinds of choices. And this here was all brood here. This is the honey up in the corners, right in the corner here. This was all brood. And of course, as the season goes on, the brood all hatches out, and either they leave it empty or they put honey in there. But this is a plastic frame. So plasticware, you buy a plastic frame, has a foundation plastic with some wax coating. That frame is probably 15 years old. Let's see.
Jerry, can you just introduce Bees the way that is? I heard that they'll just clean everything up.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So you don't need cleaning anything?
No, heck no. This is already going to be. They'll clean it up. Here's a, this is plastic foundation in a Western frame. It's a brand new one. It's got a wax coating on it. You see there's, I think you can see that now. It's got hexagons shaped out, yes?
What about that moldy pollen?
They'll clean it
I'll
up.
deal with it. Anything you
They'll
can
clean it up.
find inside of a
They
nasty
clean that
moldy
thing up.
they can deal with.
Heck, those bees are, you talk about, you've got 5,000 plus bees in that beehive and they're growing. They're house cleaners. They got a whole chain of command in there. They're going to clean that stuff out. They'll drag that stuff out and get it cleaned out, just like you moved into some old house you're going to remodel or something. This here is, that's all wax foundation, not plastic. I prefer the wax. I've done both. This is actually for comb honey. I mark my frames on top of them for seeds for comb honey. These will fill that full. Normally on a wax frame you have wires that go this way. Somebody said about piano wires last week. I remember somebody said they had frames of piano wires or whatever they found or something. So you see, I wire these myself. There's piano wire going across here that holds that wax in place.
Before you put that one away, the one you cut out before is going to be a different depth.
It is. It's a Western.
Okay, so
You're absolutely right.
that's why you take it out of the Westerns on the top. If you see the brood, that's where you just
Well,
drop it down.
it would be in this box on the ground down here. It's a Western box, but I had it here for just a display to show people.
I thought you were saying if you found brood, you might move it into that.
I move them around, but if I had brood in one, but in my Western box, I put it in the Western box. One thing you don't want to do, you do not want to put a short frame into a tall box. They'll take and they'll fill all the spaces up. And they'll go down, they'll draw a comb down here to fill that space up. And when you go take it apart, it makes a mess. You'll pull it apart, you'll drag your wax out, you'll squish bees, and they'll get honey everywhere, and they'll get cranky, and all the smoke in the world won't work. So you don't ever want to mix your frames up. That's another deep frame, that's brand new, that's wax. Plastic foundation again, plastic comb they call like this. And it's got a wax coating, it's already got the hexagon stamped in it. And they'll go in here and they'll clean this thing out and start building their cells on here. And their cell, they'll build it up so it'll look just like that. All that stuff won't look that dirty, but it'll all look. Now these are old frames. Now typically this wax you see on here, the dark brown on that, this frame is probably, oh gosh, 10, 15, 20 years old. That frame has got some brood, drone cells right here. And those why they make drone cells for swarming and that. Question?
Just
yep.
Basic question. So that box you're working with now, are you going to be extracting honey out of that or just the top box?
Negative. Just everything's bubbles. My two lower boxes are that's theirs. So I'll keep those. These will stay with the bees until I know they kind of fill them up, and I can kind of check the weight of it or whatever. We're getting to that. I'm going to show that shortly. But the weight of the hive, I know. I see how the bees are working, and they'll make their brood in here. They'll bring some nectar. They'll bring pollen in here. These are their homes.
So when you're pointing out, oh, there's some honey here and honey there, that's for their.
That's that. Yeah, that's all theirs. And then come when there's starting to be nectar flows, and they're running out of room. Part of managing my bees so they don't swarm, I'll start adding room to them. So I'll put a little box on top of them. And they'll take and start putting their That's correct. They'll start filling this there. And as they fill that up, what I know is they got most of the frames full, and they're brand new wax, they're all nice and white, their cappings and that, or add another box on it, depending on nectar flow and the weather. So, let's move right along here. Okay, great. Okay, so here's what I am. We're getting all the parts. This is fantastic. So you can't all see it. Now, when I build my boxes on people, I have we call a bar, a handle in the boxes I put on. This box comes with 4 sides. There's nothing on there. I have this top bar. And the reason why I do it, because I can real easily pick my box up like this here. When we're sitting lined up, like that right there lined up. I can fit my box up like here. Down in my lower box, I can look at my bees or whatever. If that handle, some beekeepers with this type of a top, you can't have the handle up here. But I don't use this kind of a top because this top also overlaps. These are probably a better top than I use as far as the weather around here and rain. But I use, because I travel, move my bees around, I have a top like this. And the reason why, because when I load my bees on trucks, I want my beehives tight to each other. They're sort of stacked right tight, and I strap them down. This type of lid, it's very difficult to move bees around on a truck with 100 beehives because there's a gap here, and they kind of slide around. And it really gets messy. They fall off the truck. So I have handles like that. I can tip mine up. I can go. So my bottom box, all my boxes, my bottom one, I run, again, it's just got frames. I run 9 frames. These are 10 frame boxes. When you buy them, the box is made for 10 frames. In our part of the country where it's real wet and the frames tend to swell, I run 9 frames. Because when I do on my frames, with my tool, when I put them all in there, I push them all toward the center. So I have a gap on my outside out here. And that way, when I pick them apart, if you have 10 frames in there, to pull them apart, the bees are all crowded and kind of gets, kind of irritates them. Frames in. But if you run 9 frames and you push them towards the center with an even gap on the outside, when you go to check it, you want to pull a frame out and look for queens or eggs or whatever. I can pop it apart. I got a nice gap. I can pull it up. I don't irritate the bees. So it gives it, because around here when it rains, these frames tend to swell up.
So that space on the outside doesn't matter, that it's bigger than 3 inches in it?
Yeah. It's not very big. It's probably a ½ inch. It's 1 frame less. And a frame is about an inch wide, so about a ½ inch in size. What they'll do sometimes, and this box is a good example of it. This box here is a really good example of what they'll do. What they'll do in that space, you can see in here, I gotta clean this place. On that side where that frame was, there's all that bridging. We call it bridging. So the bees got to make bridging to crawl back and forth around spaces bigger than 3/8 of an inch. 3/8 of an inch, they can reach it, and then bigger 3/8 of an inch, they build a bunch of wax there, and they make bridging. They have bridge, for example, on top of these frames here, there's comb up here. That's the bridge between the box and top, so it can crawl up there. Now I run, this is my bottom box, and I use, and they show in the series of boxes here, so my lid, I showed you here, that's my lid I make. This is how I build my lids. I can stack boxes on top of here. I put a border for rigid, just plywood. I put a border around here to the side here. Gives me a little bee space. So I set my lid down. The bees, I don't squish any bees at all, so it's not right flat on top of the frame because there will be bees crawling on top there. I use in-box feeders. These are feeders. They have about a gallon. So that's why on my boxes I can tip it up because I'll start feeding bees and I can pour, I can tip it up and pour sugar liquid in these frame feeders.
So you're not using the inner cover either, right?
No, I don't use the inner cover.
Does only your bottom one have the feeder? Or?
That's correct. That's my bottom one. Bottom one's got my feeder. Makes the bees go down a little bit. Sometimes my second box, but my bottom one's always got my feeder. And that's for transporting. Makes it less of a mess. Lower center of gravity. Now I have here, I've got 2 things to show you that is. One is, oh, there's a second. So I use, they got a clean bill there. I use pollen trap. I run pollen traps. This is a pollen trap. Be my bottom board. I put these on around August. So I just collect, bees go through this here, this screen, that. I don't think that's, is that on there? Good. Piece of equipment I use. There's good money for. There's health food, there's good money. And if the bees make plenty of pollen, this is my bottom. I build my own bottoms, screen bottom boards. I use like it's an 1/8 inch screen. And the reason for the screen bottom boards, so they say, is that one, it keeps it cleaner. All the stuff drops through here. You don't have to do cleaning. I used to rotate my boxes to scrape these all out. Also the mites. When you're doing, if you do what they call a dowdy method, powdered sugar, if the mites drop out the bees, they drop the screen on the ground and they'll find a way back to the bees. I've been using screen, I don't know if they help, they must help a little bit. I use them. My bees are still living, and,
So during those pollen traps, are you ever concerned by doing that your bees don't get enough? Or
pardon me?
if you use a pollen trap, are your bees getting enough?
Absolutely, bees are smart. That's a great question. The pollen trap is designed, what we do, so we don't starve them with pollen, there's a little hole right here. Bees are smart. Bees are lazy. Bees are capitalists. And they learn, when I first put these pollen traps on there, they don't know where to go, and they screech that screen, and they fly out this hole here. They come back in their pollen, and they go through that screen right there. That screen, it's the size of the bee. It rakes the pollen off their feet, with their legs, into this little tray right here and collects the pollen. I have a good nectar flow. I'm collecting pollen about every 3 days. That drawer will be full. I'll get, I run about 50 pollen traps. I don't remember. But after a short time, and I can always tell, when I go up there after 3 or 4 days, and I open all my pollen traps up, and typically the pollen tray is full of pollen, I come to beehive. What's nice about these, I open it up, there's no pollen. One is, they figured out how to get by that screen, because I hate that screen. They don't like it. There's little holes in it, and they kind of chew it up, but they'll crawl in that hole. And that's so they don't lose their pollen. So there's probably 20 plus, 30, 40 bees that figure that out and bring in pollen to the beehive and don't give it to me. They figure it out.
Why do they go in there in the first place, though? Why are they drawn to going in there?
Into which one?
Into the pollen trap.
Well, that's the only entrance they know. When they fly out, the only hole they have is right down here. So I put this pollen trap on the beehive, put a piece of box on top of here. They crawl through there. They want to get out, and they crawl through down here, and they land here, and they kind of, one of them figures out this other pathway and tells her all their sisters, and they all figure that pathway out. But they don't want to. They would rather not, but they have to get in that hive with the queen's at and the brood's at.
Jerry, don't your bees need that pollen? Why are you taking,
Oh, absolutely.
why are you taking it away from them?
I only take a certain percent of it. They bring their cattle, they bring in more. But I also, you can look at the pollen trap tells them lots of things about how much pollen they're bringing in there. So if I have a weak hive, I'll take my pollen trap. A good strong hive will give me 50% of that pollen. They don't need it. They just got pollen collectors that go collect pollen. Yes, sir.
And where do you go about selling that pollen? You said like it's a house food.
Oh yeah, I sell mine raw, not clean. I sell it. Last year it was $5 a pound.
$5 a pound.
There's Glory Bees buys it. There's other beekeepers that buy it. There's people, you'll see it on the web where people buy. I have a
Craigslist.
So, yes.
Health department, do they give you a hard time, organic myth, not pasteurized?
No, I've never done. They're more than welcome to come to my bee yard with me. But I've never had a problem with the health department. This is an agriculture product, beekeeping, and quite honestly, the health department, which is part of the county, encourages beekeeping, and they don't want people to get disappointed about it. So they don't. I've never had a problem. I had a problem one time, long time ago. I had a neighbor where I had bees that complained about the bees. They had dog kennels. Maybe you guys know why. But my bees were for some reason attracted to dog kennels. The uric acid. They loved it. I don't know why. And the person complained about all the bees in the dog kennel. Called the health department. Health department came out, saw my bees, saw bees there. There was no identifying marks, no tattoos. They didn't know they were my bees, whose bees they were, by nature's. They said, I don't see a problem. I see a bunch of bugs. See you got dogs. Get rid of your dogs. We don't mind. No, I've never had a problem. And I do have one other thing here. So these are frame boards. Again, I built my own frames. Just takes nails. I buy them in pieces like this here. They get assembled easily. They're all notched out. They're like a length of logs, jigsaw puzzles. They just go together. A couple nails. Yeah, you can buy these assembled. I like building stuff. I like working my hands. So I buy my frames. I build them. I nail them. There's a bottom board that goes on there. That plastic frame I showed you, it snaps right in these here. It fits in just perfect, snaps in the grooves. So it saves a couple pennies. I'm a beekeeper, I'm forward.
You don't use staples, Jerry?
I do. But I've used like roofing shingle nails, galvanized shingle nails, work really great. I have staplers, I got compressors and that, so I staple my stuff together. But I use sheetrock screws, work with long ones there for putting my big box together, work great. I also build, this is a, probably not enough. I use this here, every now and then you get, this is kind of a frame saver, this little tool here, little piece of metal. And what will happen is, it's so terrible. For whatever reason, every now and then a frame, the end bar right here will break off. Moisture, whatever, bad wood when it got built, and that breaks off. This thing here will replace that. And I carry this with me, my bee box or whatever. So I'll be in a bee yard, and well, if that breaks off, this frame drops down and just kind of makes a mess. So I have these with me. I can just put these right on there, and it fits. It takes the place of that broken end. And that end is what holds up in the box, holds the frame suspended.
What's that called? What are those called?
Okay. Frame saver. They're in the magazine. Just a little piece of metal. If I buy like a box of 50 of them. I'll have probably a dozen frames a year, bust the ends off, and I'll have these. I fasten little screws on there. I find that using screws around beekeeping, when I have a handle loose, if I use screws, bees don't care. But if you use a hammer, hammering boards on, hammering stuff on, they don't like that very well. I have one other thing that for me that I build myself. So we'll get to that here. I think one of these slides here coming up. Let's see. Designed for maximum honey production. And this is all the stuff for the Langstroth. And again, there's all kinds of hives out there. The Langstroth is for easy for honey extraction. Let's see. Let's go to we got equipment. Let's see what I'm saying here. In this picture here, they show you a bee stand, the bee bottom, the two boxes I showed you here, queen extractor, queen excluder. Then your honey box is above the queen excluder. Somebody asked about that. And quite honestly, the queen excluders are great because it really does. It keeps the brood queen up there, so it makes it a lot easier for taking away honey. I just don't use it because I got too many beehives and they're expensive. And I can deal with them. And then somebody asked about an inner bee cover. They're actually, in this part of the country, they're a good idea. And your top box, your top lid.
What is the inner bee cover for? What does that do?
Kind of a moisture barrier.
Oh, okay.
Anybody have another reason why?
It also keeps it from cementing down that telescoping cover so you can't get anything off.
Yep. Another reason too. It keeps that, because they cement down everything. With propolis, we talk about propolis and wax. They fill up gaps. We're talking here, we're showing the different types of bottoms. Also something important about a bottom, a bee bottom. When you buy a bee bottom, they have a landing strip, about an inch and a half. Some of them are a little longer. Bees come in fully loaded with nectar, honey, or pollen, and they're clumsy. So I always give them a landing strip mine are all about an inch and a half wide. A little deck they can land on. This helps if you want to make their life so easy. You don't want to slow them down. You want them to go out and work and fly back and land that beehive and bring in the honey, drop the nectar off and get back to work. So you make it so easy for them, as easy as possible. Yes, sir.
Question in terms of the sequence of hives. So typically you go too deep and then you put on the super?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, exactly. For two bottom boxes, like I have right here, that's your home forever.
Screen bottom with or without a solid board underneath?
Pardon me?
Screen bottom with or without a solid underneath?
Yes.
Your screen board
No, your screen bottom board goes straight to the
Oh,
ground.
screen bottom. I didn't say green. Screen. Yeah, my screen bottom is my. In fact, in this picture here, that's it right here.
Yeah.
So the screen bottom board is the bottom. That's their floor.
No solid?
Negative. Okay. And I ran solids forever. They just started. Somebody, I think it was the guy out of Florida, the beekeeper, whatever, wrote about it. And they went to screen bottom boards about 10 years ago. Something like that, 10 years ago, for the mice to drop to. When we started having a big pile of mice, something somebody discovered. I don't know if it's good up here. There's, you know, we got moisture and ventilation.
I've
They
done it
work
both
for
ways,
me.
it doesn't matter.
I don't know. But yeah, you got a screen bottom board. They're showing a solid one here, I think. But it's screen bottom board, and either one. The problem with the difference is, the big difference is, if you use a solid board, the bees drop, when they clean those these dirty boxes I have, when they clean it out, all that debris lays down here. Bees are lazy. I mean, they're hard workers, but they're going to be up here working up here, dropping all that debris down. It falls down here, it'll build up in that bottom solid board. You have to, every spring, which I did for years, pull these boxes apart, get them off the bottom board, tip the bottom board up and scrape. You have about a ½ inch of debris of all kinds of dead bugs and whatever there. You scrape them, pollen and wax, you clean it off, and then put it back down. Otherwise, all that debris builds up. The nice thing about the screen board for me is that the stuff drops through. When I move my beehives, on the bottom of that screen will be a ½ inch or inch of debris out of the bee boxes they've cleaned out. Old pollen, old wax, bee hearts, whatever. Yeah, let's see what else.
In the winter, you use the screen bottom in the winter?
I do, all year round. I think in this part of the country, ventilation is good. So I said last time, one of the biggest problems we have is hypothermia. And the bees seal them up really well. When I have the boxes and lids all together, in fact, as you can see on these here, well, you can't, actually right here, you can. This box is a good example. That stuff right there, anybody want to chew it? That's propolis. Guaranteed to stick your mouth for the next 3 weeks. But that's what they use. They put a propolis, a sealer, to seal all the air gaps up. So they make them very tight. That ventilated bottom, that board gets a little more ventilation. I think it helps out.
So if it's sitting up on a 4x4, say,
Yep.
the air could blow up under it.
Absolutely. But the bees are all grouped up. The global warming is not a problem anymore.
Okay. Is there a pro or con for having one or two supers at a time? Like, looks like you have one, wait till it gets full and add a second one?
Well, when you start out, if I started out as a new beekeeper, and I had a package, I don't talk about packages, but a package, which is, I saw right over here. You guys gonna grab it? And you buy your package. You start out, all you people start out brand new beekeepers, you buy a package of bees with Stedman.
Have full bees.
That's got 3 pounds of bees in it. You'll start out with the bottom box. You'll shake the bees in there or whatever. And they'll show all that. And when that box, and they build out, you're going to be the foundation. And that is what I showed you. This is foundation. I have an advantage because my bees are already, that's foundation. Just a piece of flat, whether it's wax or plastic. Yep.
Or nothing.
Same thing, or a top on with nothing. That bottom box is going to fill it up and build the wax out. And you're going to say, okay, cool, they got 8 frames. They're running out of room. Then you're going to have your second box. Come the fall time, around September, October, those 2 boxes are full of wax, full of honey. That's your homes forever. So those 2 bottom boxes, my bees, I got bees that have been in the boxes for years.
So,
Am I running out of time, George? Is my time used up?
George,
Let's do a break.
the boxes,
Oh, yes, we have break.
the
Yes.
bottom boxes, what is the quickest you've ever seen one fill up? And what's the longest you've ever seen one steady fill up?
That's a great question. That's it. And that answer, beekeeping is farming business. To ask a farmer how many bushels they'll get a week, to ask how fast they'll fill up, it all depends on Mother Nature, the weather, the nectar. How fast have I seen it though?
Yes.
I've seen one of these boxes like I have. Now I've also seen them with all foundation. Great question. Years ago, now mine are all drawn out, so these have an advantage. They just got to clean up, fill full of honey. You get a foundation like I showed you, just a foundation. I have seen a box of this here in a good nectar full, filled up in a week. Drawn out wax and filled full of honey.
But that's not a brand new box of bees. That's bees that are getting honey.
This has already got an advantage here, this box here.
These guys, I have seen 3 or 4 of these drawn out fully in maybe a couple of weeks from scratch. Starting here, ending there. A couple of weeks. Yep.
So I've seen a box like I said, a box like that, a Western box, with just a foundation, on a really good nectar flow with a good strong hive, fill that, draw that out full of wax. So those frames look like these here, full of wax, and full of honey in a week.
But isn't that where you've got fields and fields or orchards? And
Absolutely.
But in a regular urban
Not necessarily
setting,
orchards, but flowers that are producing nectar.
in
And
a
it
regular
could be when
urban
the maple
setting,
season is around May, and the weather's right, and it's 60+ degrees, and bees are fine, you got strong colonies, you got lots of bees, the queen's laying lots of eggs, and the nectar flow, and they're out working hard. And they'll bring in the wax glands are working the bees, they're drawing out the wax, so you've got a whole chain of command in there, you got the nursemaids, you got the cleaners, you got the ones making the wax, you got the field bees bringing in the nectar and the pollen, and they're just clicking, the weather, Mother Nature's working right, and you can fill a box out in a week. Don't see it very often, but it has that.
Jerry, the pros and cons of that style, the pros and cons of the style.
The length
versus-
stroke?
Yeah, versus the
I-
others.
I'll do some of that.
Okay.
Then I'll tell you. I can't answer that. I can't answer that, because I'm not familiar. I'm familiar, I've read a lot about this, I've never done it. So I don't know. So what am I missing here? I think we're showing a couple of different kinds of clean excluders. Let's move on here. You got equipment, I think we talked about frames. I'm not sure what these are here. I think those are what Jason's been talking about. They're showing the frames of honeycomb drawn out. I kind of showed you a frame of honey, and that's what that looks like. Although that's nice, pretty white. That's the first week or two when they're drawing that box out. Come next year, around August, that box will be full of frames like that right there. Nice, beautiful, white, pretty wet. What I showed you here, that frame I pulled out of here that had that, it's a good example. And it's close, it's got a lot of honey, that's quite a bit of honey actually. But that honey, dirty, the wax is capping, and that was beautiful white, like that, probably 2 years ago. The bees' dirty feet and everything walked around that, got all dirty. But it's still cap sealed back for sealed honey. And you guys didn't take a break, so I don't bore you anymore. I think that white, somebody asked about white. I never advise that painting beehives white up in part of the country. White's used in high areas where there's high temperature. I think mine dark colors absorb heat. White's used to reflect the heat, like California, Arizona, where it's warm, Florida. I get my paint cheap, mist tints, whatever colors, the greens, the browns, because it kind of matches and blends into the background. Let's say here, equipment, more equipment. We cover that. I see one thing here, it's a cardboard nook, which is, I don't think that's a nook, that's a box. That's a different type of feed. So I talked about I use in-frame feeders. There's like 3 types of feeders. There's a, this is the in-frame like I use. These are feeders that fit in the front of the doorway. These can easily access that starting out. Those are good feeders. That right there, Ted's got one. Here's a feeder here that sits, they'll put an empty box up there, and they'll put a feeder inside that box. Bees can get to really easy. A lot of times you have weak hives starting out, new hives, you want to make it easy to get to their feed. When you start out, you have a box of just foundation, the new bees. You kind of want to help them out because the weather might be cold, they can't get out and fly, there's no nectar. So you kind of artificially give them some nectar so they're getting food and feed and building wax. Nothing wrong with that at all to help them out. Then we've got, these are called bee escapes. And probably the last part of my talk. Does anybody have to take a break right now? Am I good for 3 minutes? Good. So I make my own bee escapes. My mentor showed me this a long time. This here I built was probably 25 years old. And you can buy it like this. And these have little springs. They're basically a check valve. So you know what a check valve is? A check valve is a one-way valve. Something can flow through in one direction, it can't flow back. And for some reason, I don't know why, this guy showed me a long time ago, I took a piece of plywood, he showed me out here, I cut a piece of plywood out, it fits the size of my box. I cut a couple little strips of wood here, I cut a triangle of screen wire, the bees can't fit through it. I fastened it down there, I got little entrances right here and right here. For some reason, the bees, when I put these on, I pull that western box off right here. This is full of honey, full of bees. I go to the mountain and I use these when it's pouring down rain, it's wet and cool, and the weather's changed. In August, it's turned terrible. I use fume boards, chemical boards, and it has to be at least 65, 70 degrees plus to use them. I use them at the end of August to pull my honey up. At the end of August, September, if I have something to talk about, if I have brood up there, and I can't get it off right away, and I got to wait a week or two for that brood to hatch out, but it's full of honey, and what will happen is it'll be this whole box is all full of honey, but it'll be a small patch of brood right here. If there's brood there, the bees won't leave it. They will, it's chemical, but I'll let the brood hatch out, so it'll be about the middle of September, and it's pouring down rain, it's cold, it's miserable, and I use my bee escapes. And I pull that box off, I set this thing down, I put that box on top, there's no brood up there. Overnight, the bees crawl down there because the queen's down there, they don't go back up. I come back the next morning, I pull that box off, there's not a single bee in there. A couple of drones, sometimes little fat drones won't fit through there. They might plug it up, in the mail, lazy drones. But and I make these all myself. And I have probably 100 of these I built 20 years ago, and I still use for a year. That's the same, they do the same thing as a bee escape. And it's a real clean way. Actually, what's nice about them, what's really nice about them, if I use chemicals to take my bees out of my boxes, when I pull the boxes apart, they got all this comb, all that bridging, that's full of honey between the frames, and it drips, it's running everywhere. If I pull that off and put a bee escape on there, like these here, and put it back on there, overnight the bees clean all that honey up. When I pull that box off, there's no honey drip, it's clean, it's really nice. They're really nice to use. As long as there's no brood. So if there's one brood of the bees won't leave it. And it shows, actually there's a picture of the site I built here. Same thing. Bee equipment, so excluders. Bee Club has that. All new beekeepers. Bee Club has an excluder to help out. We got different types here. I use one like this here. Mine holds like 50-some plus frames. These are like a hand crank one. Holds like 4 or 5 frames for extracting your honey. And the Bee Club has all of that for you. We have, we have a solar wax melter. I think there's all kinds of designs on the web. Use the sunshine to melt your wax. And because everything that the bees make, you can market, you can build, you can use them for something. I always have people, I sell wax. There's probably a queen builder box. These are, these are like on queen stands here, I'm guessing. And I don't know what those are there. They're just various pieces of equipment. And we're moving along here. I think I'm about done, except there's a scale. And there's all kinds of if you're an electronic gadget nerd type person. People use scales. This is a scale up here. They'll put the box on to kind of check the weight of how much honey's coming in. I'll read about it a lot of times. People use scales. And I learned I can pick it up and tell. But people use scales and they'll mark it down. They use that log book we showed earlier. Write down, okay, May 1st. Box is a whole box that weighs 65 pounds. May 20th weighs 110 pounds. So you can kind of gauge how much honey is coming in. The nectar flow. Down below is heat monitors. People put monitors inside the beehives and monitor the heat during the different times of the year. Too much tech for me. And then we get to my last and this here is where you can buy these here. These are $10,000 a piece, and automatic honey extractors guarantee the bees won't die. Any questions before you take a break? Yes? I'm not going to answer that one. No, that's fine, dude. That's a great question. I have boxes. I can tell the boxes I have, how I built them. I'm going to answer. That's a great question. Actually, I have 2 things I didn't show everybody. One more thing, and that is right here. That's a great question. Oh, right here. Right.
What was the question?
One of my friends, she asked me how old my wax is. And I have a frame right here. This frame right here. A lot of beekeepers, a long time ago, would mark their frames with all kinds of numbering for identification. You get into the pollinating and almonds and that. I've got a lot of frames that got names of beekeepers. One of the beekeepers I used to know, he's passed away now. I've got a bunch of his equipment. I have 2 beekeepers passed away in equipment. And there's social security numbers up here. That one there's got number 460. I don't know where it came from. This came from a beekeeper that used to run about 20,000 beehives out east of Washington. I have one other piece of equipment that I don't know if anyone will talk about that I make myself. And this is a drone frame. I build it myself. I cut out this here space here is like a top bar. It's totally empty. This part up here, I have a strip of foundation. And what it is, it's as you know, you'll learn more about the mites. Tend to go to the drone cells and lay their eggs and grow and mature in the drone cells. Because, anybody know why? Why do the mites choose a drone cell over a worker cell?
It takes longer for them to mature.
It fertilized them.
Exactly. How many days?
24.
Exactly. That's why. So what I do is typically I'll cut this out. They'll fill this will be an empty space. They'll fill it full of drone cells. They'll fill it full of drone brood. I'll go in there, cut that thing out, throw it in the bushes of the broods. And all the mice then go on. So it's kind of a way to manage my mice.
Aren't drone cells bigger as well?
Yeah.
What was it? What would he say?
Yeah, he says drone cells, he asked if drone cells were bigger, and I said, yes, they are. And part of why you go to basically having an open frame is to allow the bees to draw drone cells. When you have forced sized celling, as you do in all those with foundation in them, if the bees get a chance, what they want is more drones, and they will basically draw a drone comb.
If you can see that, there's a good example. There's drone cells there. You guys can pass this thing around if you want.
I got this guy.
But that's drone cells.
You can see regular bees here and drone cells here. The bees, when they draw their own comb, they tend to draw like a chevron of drone comb on the side. And so they'll have regular sized brood here and then drone brood here. You can always tell drone brood is look like bullets.
Like what?
Bullets. Little round nose.
They're taller.
We should do a break.
They're tall. The drones are big. Break time. Thank you very much.
Yeah, questions?
Yeah, I got a couple questions for you.